stone. Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for clicking on another video of mine and welcome to this episode of Knife Month. And today we're going to revisit a topic that I've talked about a few times in the past, but we have a newer and much improved method from what we've discussed in the past. Now, I've talked a lot and taught a lot about using sharpening stones, water stones, whetstones, whatever you want to call them, freehand sharpening stones on this channel. And a lot of you guys have went out and invested in stones. Now, the thing is, when you get a brand new stone, usually if you buy from a quality maker, it's perfectly flattened. It's trued from factory, your surface is nice and flat, and that works great. But the thing is, they don't stay flat. The beauty of water stones is that it's a solid chunk, a matrix or a compound of abrasive. So that is, you have a grit particle, a sharpening grit particle that's harder in most cases than your steel you're sharpening. And that grit is fused together with some sort of compound, whether that's like a type of glue or just through like a sedimentary process with heat and compression, moisture. There are different ways to assemble. Different makers and different types of stone use different methods. But the whole beauty of whetstones like this is, over time, of course, those particles lose their crisp edge. If you could look at one piece of particle at a microscopic level, over time you chip off and smooth, you erode, just like beach rocks, those little crispy sharp cutting particles. And if your particle wasn't to go anywhere, your stone would lose effectiveness over time. That just makes good sense. What happens with these beautiful stones we're using is that since it's a solid block, the compound, or what's holding the material together, the particle together, is soft enough so that your stone wears away as you're using it, which is beautiful because you always maintain that performance. You keep removing those particles that get smooth and worn out on the top, and you're revealing new, fresh, crispy cutting particles beneath, so you keep having that nice, clean cut on your steel. That's beautiful, but it's a double-edged sword because that's getting worn away, and we have a tendency to use exact same patterns all the time on our stone. We don't tend to use every part of our stone equally, so your stone will get out of true, and the surface will take on different shapes, and usually that involves a hollow right here. So most of the length of the stone, maybe this much by a large part of the width, you'll get this hollow. And see, this becomes a problem when we take a knife. Let's look at this folder right here. This is a beautiful folder, but it has a nice long straight edge, and if you use something like if I had my 940 Benchmade, it has an even longer perfectly straight edge here. So when you lay that on the stone to sharpen, if your stone scoops in like this and you're trying to make a cutting pass, well, that's a problem. Because you're not getting, you see, this is a nice flat stone. We're getting perfect contact along the straight edge. But if my stone fell away or dipped, that might not happen. And if it was excessively curved, you'd start actually warping and changing the shape of your cut edge. We don't want to do that. So that can become a problem. And you imagine if you're sharpening, say, a plane iron, you know, that needs to have a perfectly straight edge, or a chisel. Having warps and curves and stuff, straight razors especially, you need perfectly flat stones. Those warps and curves won't work. So what you can do, you can take your stone, if you suspect it has a curve, take something that's a straight edge, something you know to be a good true edge. Now you can take this ruler like this and trace it along your stone, move it back and forth, corner to corner, and have a look at what's happening under your ruler here. If I take, you can even you can hold it up to a light if you can manage that, or I can take a flashlight here. See, pretty even all the way along. If I bring my flashlight along like that, and that's where it drops off the edge of the stone here, so that's perfect. You're not going to be able to hold your ruler in such a way that no light passes, unless you had just a completely non-porous stone and ruler edge. But look at that. That's a good true stone right there, and like I said, you can move it back and forth corners like this dimensionally. To check that, you can also check in this dimension. Now let's look at one of my workhorse stones here, my Shapton Kuramaku Blue Black, and this one takes a lot of abuse because it's your first line of defense. Do you see the difference? Do you see the light that we have here in the middle? We have a lot more light passing through. So this stone has a dip. It's a little bit difficult to show you guys. There's a very pronounced dip in the middle. Yeah, I can slip some cardstock right under there and it will stop right there. Now, my method I've shared in the past has been a very low budget method. That is to go to your local hardware store, go to the tile, the flooring section, check out some polished ceramic or glass tile. So that is like a 12-inch by 12-inch 1 square foot tile. You want to grab a good straight edge like we used here, and you want to grab one of those tiles and you want to check it to make sure it's flat. Some of them might not be perfect, they might have little warps. Find the flattest tile you can, just buy one tile. They're only cheap, they might cost you, if you get something real elaborate, it might cost you 12 or 15 bucks, but in most cases it might cost you 4 or 5 bucks. Then you pick up a couple grits of sandpaper. You wet your tile, you lay it on your sandpaper, and you work your stone until it's flat. Now, you end up losing a lot of sandpaper like that. It does go through a lot, and your sandpaper breaks down. It's just not an enjoyable experience. Over this past year, I found something that works incredibly well, and it's just as budget friendly. So if you go to paulsfinest.com, you will find, and I'll try to put a link down there in the bottom right now, you'll find baggies of Sharpening Grit. So this would be similar to the type of grit that we talked about, the particles, that would be in these stones. Now right here you have a 240 grit aluminum oxide. This is recommended for the resin bond diamond matrix stones from Edge Pro. This is a 60 grit silicon carbide, so a much coarser grind powder. This is just their general stuff recommended for general stones. So I will actually use this finer stuff on like my Shapton glass stones and my higher grit ceramic stones. And this I just use on my lower grit workhorses, or if I have to do a deep leveling of some of those harder stones, like I have a real bad cut or something. These, like I said, you can get them at Paul's Finest. You might be able to get them as well at Edge Pro, I think. I'll fit out the links down in the description there anyways. But these are incredible. It says right on them what to do. You throw a teaspoon of this powder along with some water on a flat surface. So a glass plate here I'm using. Just any standard flat surface, a ceramic or a glass plate, and it says to work your stones in a circular motion. It's really nice, easy to clean up, and it cuts so quickly. It's really amazing stuff and quite affordable. Now this one here is a coarse stone. It's a ceramic stone and it's heavily dished. So this is an obvious choice for a coarse powder here. Now you got to be careful with this stuff, especially if you're using it inside your house, because it's kind of like glitter. It can find itself everywhere, although it's a lot more heavy than glitter, so it doesn't blow around quite as much. But we'll put a little powder there, little water. Let's use the old trick. Mark some cross hatching on your stone. Like so. Now you just kind of give it a little spread out first. Make sure it's evenly spread. You just start working the center. You can quickly see the blue slurry forming there. Now, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see well. Yeah, there you go. Look around the edges where we have fresh surface. See on the two ends? We've removed the pencil line. Yeah, you can see there in the light reflection. You see that? See the hollow right here? So we're moving in. Using lots of pressure here. We're right into right here now. And on here, yeah, we've got a little hollow there. Depends on how you use your stones, your habits, of course. So we're fresh right into here. Here, we've just got a little bit of a hollow right there. So, and that was probably 1.5 millimeters. Oh, there you go. Now you can see really good. Look at that hollow. And there we go. Now we have a perfectly flattened stone. You can check it with your straight edge, but you can even see it looks right now. It doesn't have that ditch in there. See that? That's what we want. Good contact all the way across. Look at that. Now it would be just plain mean to send you away without hearing that or experiencing that 240 grit powder. Look at how fine that is. That is just like a dust almost. But again, a very heavy particle. A little water in there. Now let's use my 1000 Shapton glass stone here. Again, you kind of gotta get it spread out with some water before you get going, otherwise it doesn't feel right. You want it kind of like that. That is just a beautiful experience on that one. So you see full contact around the outside, so we've got a little dish in the center here. You can already see that white paste from the ceramic. Hey, there we go. So we are almost it's pretty dirty, but you can still see there's a little hollow right there. There we go, perfectly flattened stone. And there it is. I just gave it a quick wash down so you could appreciate the beauty of this 1000 Shapton. Man, what a stone. Probably my favorite stone in my collection right now. Thanks so much for watching. I mean, the results for the product speaks for itself. I'll throw all the links down below so you can take advantage from paulsfinest.com. I would get both grits because they're both really useful if you have more than just a single whetstone, which most of you guys do. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Knife Month. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, leave me a comment down below, tell me what you'd like to see in the remainder of this month, and I hope you tune in to the next video.